After disappointing his parents, this son spent 6 years working to surprise them. But before we start, please make sure to subscribe to M&R TV and hit the bell so you never miss any upload from us. Also, leave a like right now. Hanss Mujica, a young man from Texas, always wanted to make his parents proud. Ever since he was a little kid, Mujica dreamed about turning into the kind of son that his parents would brag about having. Unfortunately, during his teen years, Mujica lost his way. He struggled with the pressures of pleasing his parents and wasn't exactly a role model teenager. Mujica knew his parents worked really hard to give him and his siblings the best education possible. Still, he was too young to understand that his rebellious actions would end up hurting his parents in a way he could never imagine. Ultimately, Mujica would have to work for years to make up for his devastating mistakes. Hanss Mujica's problems all began during high school. Just like most teenagers, Mujica wanted to spend his time doing what he wanted, not focusing on doing homework or studying. In fact, Mujica himself later admitted that he always had a problem with school and academics. As a teenager, Mujica always struggled, and teachers started to expect less and less from him. As Mujica puts it, "Back in high school, I was not the most dedicated student. Yes, I was able to pass my classes, but it was just enough to get by to be able to dance and play sports." Still, if he found Juarez Lincoln High School in La Joya, Texas difficult, Mujica had no idea how he could possibly handle college or becoming an adult. Despite all his struggles, Mujica managed to graduate from high school, and before long, it was time for his college freshman year. As Mujica started to transition to college, he realized that school would become even tougher than before. In high schools, teachers regularly check in on their students' progress. However, that's not the case at the college level. In high school, teachers are always on top of you to see if you turned in your work or if you read the assigned book. In the university setting, it's not like that, Mujica said in an interview with Love What Matters. Soon, Mujica started to struggle and things did not look so good. In 2012, Mujica enrolled in the University of Texas Pan American, UTPA. Very early on, the harsh reality of university life hit him. You see, in high school, teachers gave him something to work on and expected him to finish it. However, in college, professors don't generally care if students do the work at all. Professors tell you the work that needs to get done, and it's up to you to decide if you want to do it or not. Ultimately, you are the ones that are paying to be there. That, I believe, was my downfall as a college student, Mujica recalled. Most students manage to force themselves into a schedule. Mujica, unfortunately, found it hard to do so. Before long, his life started to spiral out of control. Mujica carried all of his bad habits from high school to college. At the end of the first semester, he received a 1.47 GPA on his report card. As one might imagine, UPTA then decided to place him on academic probation. The news hit Mujica hard, and he ended up quitting after only his initial semester. As they paid for his schooling, Mujica then had to go confess to his parents that he was no longer in college. At the time of my suspension, I had a 1.47 GPA. When my parents found out that I had been suspended, the look on their faces completely broke my heart. Their face was filled with utter disappointment and sadness. Unfortunately, Mujica's suspension was just the last domino in a long line of tragedies. Worse still, Mujica had seen his parents so heartbroken only once before. Back in 2011, his older brother Eduardo sadly passed away in a car accident. Furthermore, Eduardo had intended to go to college. He was supposed to be the first in his family to graduate. Now the family had placed the burden on Mujica instead. The last time I saw that face was when they found out my older brother passed away in a car accident in my senior year of high school, Mujica said. At that moment, Mujica understood that he had to make a change in his life and make his parents proud once again. But first, he needed to figure out what would make them the happiest. After seeing how much his poor decisions affected his parents, Mujica swore that he'd find a way to finish what he had started. From that moment on, I told myself that I would never do anything to see that look on their face. I would never do anything to ever disappoint them, Mujica said. We have to give it to Mujica for his sincere desire to make things right. It's not easy to start a journey of redemption. However, the young man had no idea just how rough the road would become. Before long, Mujica needed to work harder and harder to earn his parents' approval, and it all started with getting a new job. There's no doubt that these setbacks greatly affected Mujica, but he didn't let it keep him down. All Mujica wanted was to make his parents proud, so he started working on a plan that would earn back his parents' trust and love. First, he needed to get a job. For a while, he worked at a bank. However, soon he realized he'd need more money for his plan. In the summer of 2016, I decided to leave my job at a local bank to work upstate to raise the money I needed. I worked as a helper in a scaffolding company for about 4 months upstate. It's not the best idea to work in scaffolding when you're afraid of heights, but it is something I had to do to get the money I needed, he said. Some never get over the pain of letting their parents down. In fact, they wallow in misery until it's too late to make up for it. Not Hanss Mujica, though. Failing his parents only strengthened his desire to move forward and work on a plan to make it right. Fortunately, Mujica had friends to help him along the way. I stayed with the most amazing friends that let me stay at their house rent-free because they knew what my situation was, he recalled. Mujica had a hard life, no doubt. Living in a house with many others and facing your fears on the job every day sounds incredibly challenging. However, it's what's needed to make his parents proud. After a while, Mujica managed to save up enough to finally begin his plan. Or so he thought. After taking some time off and working on his bad habits, Hanss Mujica decided the time had come for him to try college once again. But this would be harder this time around. You see, Mujica's suspension had a radical impact on his situation. Not only that, but many unknown obstacles hid waiting for him. The next semester following my suspension, I decided to go back to school with a whole different attitude. I had applied myself to my education and actually saw the results at the end of the semesters. Unfortunately, since I was suspended from the university, my federal aid was suspended as well, Mujica recalled. Without federal aid, he needed to work harder than ever to make ends meet. Unbeknownst to him, this would only be the first of many challenges Mujica faced to finish them. Could he possibly overcome them? Due to his academic probation and suspension, Mujica struggled to make ends meet. After all, because he had lost his financial aid and wanted to surprise his parents, Mujica needed to pay for his college tuition entirely out of pocket. From there, things only went from bad to worse. I was paying out of pocket and it got to the point where I had to get emergency loans from the university, Mujica said. Despite all the incredible hurdles along the way, Mujica did everything in his power to make his parents proud of him again. However, this was only the beginning of a long journey. While Mujica was able to continue his college education, the emergency loan proved too much and he couldn't repay the amount due with the accruing interest. As a result, the college decided to drop Mujica from his 2015 fall courses. Unfortunately, Mujica had to leave school for another year. So, broke and alone, Mujica realized that while he had become a better student, he had not become a better adult. He would need to both achieve his dream and make his parents proud. So the young man sat down and worked on a personal budget. That's when Mujica realized if he wanted to afford college, he would need to get a different job. In the fall of 2016, Mujica gained admittance to the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley, UTRGV. Shortly after, the once again student also earned a better paying job as a car salesman at a local dealership. He even got a second job working at the university's dance program. With the help of the university dance program and the money I earned from working, I was able to pay off my emergency loans and return to school fall of 2016. Even then, I could only afford one class, Mujica said. However, Mujica realized that taking one class wasn't enough, so he came up with a plan to speed up his graduation process. Even working 2 jobs, Mujica realized he was not making enough to sustain his college education, so he decided to try for financial aid once again. After all, his life had changed drastically since his first attempt at college. Thankfully, Mujica soon learned that it wasn't so crazy to ask again. I decided to apply for financial aid and was awarded federal aid for spring 2017, Mujica recalled. Now that he had everything he needed to finish his education and accomplish his dream, Mujica felt determined to make this opportunity count. After all, he was so close to showing his parents what he was truly capable of. This time around, thanks to his newfound dedication, Mujica continually performed well in his classes. Plus, he stayed in school. From then on out, I went continuously spring, summer 1, summer 2, fall 2017, all the way to spring 2018, Mujica said. He even kept his 2 jobs all the while. It must not have been easy to study and have 2 jobs at the same time, but Mujica knew it was going to be worth it. I told myself I was going to finish, no matter how long it takes, because I don't want to see that face of disappointment on my parents again, he said. However, Mujica didn't want his parents to know about all of his struggles. After all, he wanted to surprise them. While most people usually get into college to achieve their personal dreams, Mujica had a lot more at stake. The hopes of many former generations rested upon his shoulders. Everyone wanted him to become the first in his family to graduate from college. So Mujica wanted to surprise his parents when he finally did graduate. My parents never knew when I was going to graduate. I always told them soon, but never when, Mujica said. Furthermore, Mujica soldiered on until he got an email that he had waited years to receive. After so many tries, the university informed the young man he would walk during graduation. Finally, Mujica had done what he had set out to do. After 6 years of being in and out of college, Mujica managed to finish his education. After working hard and never giving up, he had finally achieved what he always wanted. Along the way, Mujica also proved to himself that no matter what the challenge is, if you have the willingness to work for it, you can get there. The surprise from my parents was something that took years to plan. It was not something I thought of from one day to the next. I knew I wanted to surprise my parents since I graduated high school, but my mistakes delayed that. Once the day came, I was very relieved, Mujica said. But how would he surprise his parents? Well, the soon-to-be graduate had a fantastic plan up his sleeve. Mujica thought long and hard about how to best surprise his parents with the news that he had finally made it through college. After carefully planning, he came up with an incredible idea that would allow him to capture their surprise on camera. So he told them to meet him on campus for a school project he needed to finish. They thought they were posing for a family photo shoot for a project. Little did they know it was my graduation announcement, Mujica revealed. While he felt both nervous and excited, he knew that his parents would make the 6-year-long journey worth it. Before he realized it, the day of the surprise finally arrived. With his educational journey complete, all that Mujica needed to do was to tell his parents the good news. According to the young man, he had always hoped to surprise his parents with the graduation announcement. It just took him a little longer than expected. Although it had ultimately taken him 6 years to finally give the fantastic news to his parents, Hanss Mujica knew they would be proud of him once again. While his parents knew that he was still studying, but they had no idea he was actually graduating. As the big day started, Mujica put his master plan into action. Hanss Mujica told his parents to meet him on campus as part of a psychology project, one that required him to dress nicely. In reality, they had no idea they were heading to one of the biggest surprises of their lives. Along with the help of his girlfriend and friends, Mujica's plan sprang into action. While his parents waited, Mujica changed into his graduation clothes and hid behind them. Meanwhile, one of Mujica's friends started recording the special moment. The young man held a sign behind his parents reading, "They have no idea I'm graduating." His girlfriend then handed his parents an envelope. Inside was a letter. But what could it say? Hanss Mujica's father slowly opened the letter and started reading. "Mom and Dad, there are not enough words in this world that would begin to describe how much you mean to me. Now, as an adult, I see how much you guys sacrificed to keep me, my sister, and my brother happy," it reads. As his parents continued to read the letter, tears started to pour down their faces. That's when his parents noticed what else the envelope contained: 2 tickets to Mujica's graduation. Then, with a slight point of a finger from Mujica's friend, his parents looked behind them. That's when they realized that he was there, relieved that his years had finally come together. In his hand, he held a sign in Spanish reading, "Thank you, Mom and Dad." Mujica's parents couldn't believe that their son had worked so long and hard to surprise them. As the young man himself puts it, "I spent 6 years in and out of the university, but seeing the reactions on their faces was worth every sleepless night." After so many years, Mujica learned the hard lessons his parents had always tried to teach him. The letter that is seen on the video is me expressing my appreciation towards them. I've learned that adversity is something that will somehow manifest itself one way or another in our lives, but it is how we persevere through it that defines our character. What's so inspiring about Mujica's story is his incredible resolve and strong will to finish what he had started. even in the face of failure, but he says it wasn't for him. As Mujica wrote in the letter to his parents, "For you, I started. For you, I finished." Well, in the end, Hanss Mujica more than just made his parents happy. After everything they had been through as a family, he answered the dreams and hopes of so many generations that came before him. Even though it wasn't an easy task, he was able to see it through until the end. Ever since he graduated from high school, Mujica wanted to continue his education and make his parents proud of him. However, he soon discovered it wouldn't be as easy as he thought. Still, from the beginning of this incredible journey, he felt determined to accomplish his goal. While it was a roller coaster journey, Hanss Mujica never gave up. What's more, giving up was never an option for him. No matter all the sacrifices he had to make along the way, he was strong enough to continue. Certainly, that takes a lot of courage and will to make it this far. After all, he simply wanted his parents to know that he'll always be willing to do anything for them. Hanss Mujica doesn't regret his unbelievable journey for a second. Even though he had to endure some difficult situations along the way, he's happy to see that, in the end, his efforts were all worth it. Despite all the sleepless nights and long working hours, he managed to make his dreams come true. That's certainly not something everyone can say. Most importantly, although there were few moments when he thought he wouldn't be able to do it, Mujica kept his spirit up and fought against all the odds. Eventually, he was able to give his parents the news that he'd worked hard never to see the disappointed looks on their face ever again. After 6 years of working and doing everything possible to make his parents happy, Mujica was able to give them the satisfaction of knowing their son graduated from college. During all that time, Mujica managed to keep it a secret, so the excitement would be higher after they found out. It's safe to say that his master plan actually worked, and that his parents never once even suspected what Mujica was onto. Still, it certainly is one of the most precious gifts a son can make to his parents. Most importantly, he knew he couldn't let them down again. Ultimately, Mujica made both his parents' dream come true. Mujica's story inspired thousands of young adults to never give up on what they want to become in life. Despite all the hurdles one might face, there's always going to be a way to do what you want. What's more, sometimes all it takes is willingness and desire. While most people don't believe it is necessary to finish college to lead a successful life, it can open a lot of doors in your professional life. However, Mujica's story is undoubtedly an example of perseverance and true love. Furthermore, it was the love for his parents that encouraged Mujica never to stop trying. What's more, he had to learn the hard way that he had to become a mature young man to follow his dreams. Mujica believes it's never late to follow your dreams, whether it is a college degree or the job of your dreams. We just have to work hard, just like he did. In the end, all that matters is that you're brave and strong enough never to let something stand in the way of being what you want to be. While college is never easy, Mujica knows that if he was able to do it, anyone can do it as well. What's more, even if you have to work and study at the same time, you will find the satisfaction of accomplishing your dreams. What's more, Mujica is exceptionally grateful for all the positive comments he received for his actions. However, he's happier to know that he made his parents the happiest people in the world. According to the census data, 209.3 million people in America are 25 years or older, and only 66.9 million have a bachelor's degree or higher, including master's, professional, and doctoral degree. Furthermore, that means that 68% of these people do not have a bachelor's degree. While some have proven that not having a college degree can still lead to a productive and successful life, studies show that having one can grant a great advantage, especially in the ever-competitive job market. However, for the 24-year-old Mujica, this bachelor degree means much more than having an edge. You see, Mujica was the first one in his family ever to finish a college education, so it's also a mark of passage. Even though Mujica had to learn the hard way to value his education, he never gave up until he found a way to accomplish his dreams. Thankfully, he soon realized that his bad high school habits led him down a path that he never wants to return, one where he disappoints his parents. However, after a long journey, Mujica managed to make it up to them. He also learned that all that matters is that you constantly work to make yourself a better person, and not just for yourself, but also for the people who love you. For him, the greatest gift was to see the look on his parents' faces after they saw the graduation tickets. That's much better than any degree or high-paying job.